Chapter 36 The Pegasus. If God is the light of truth, then is God fire? And if we want to know God, will our lives also be set on fire? I believe God is the light among darkness. God's light holds the power of 10,000 suns, and it illuminates time, space, and every world. Why, as I look out into the universe, I saw it, and with wings upon my back, I'd been set ablaze as I flew off in search of the next adventure. Such a fire might bother us if we live in a permanent body, but since we are of the soul, it only reveals that we are of the same light. Fire is the essence of truth, and as it exposes the darkness, it also brings pure consciousness to life. Was this fire the nectar of immortality and our greatest secret? Oh, how others believe that only an alchemist with a divine key could unlock such a mystery. And while I see that God is the only one who knows the real truth about it, I seem to be in a position where I only repeat that which is heard, because my soul is something like a parrot. With the wings set ablaze upon our back, our flight pattern was guided and directed by God's golden chain. Now the intellectual side of my mind knew that God pulled the strings, but still it happened in a way in which words could not explain. There was a great being, and we called it God as a name, but still God could not be limited by words, and this perplexed our brains. Somehow God is how it was all connected, and the height of such a realization could be called a cosmic egg. But still these words were just labels to make sense of truth symbolically. But in truth, the divine reality exceeded words, and so how could it be expressed? Rather, it simply is. And here we are. The wings carried the soul to the edge of the pure land when there was no one else around. Of course, I wished to remain in God's presence, as this was the shore between heaven and earth. We were ready to turn around and go back to God, especially because there was no ferryman anywhere to be found. But God said we must return to the earth, but we did not want to leave the presence of that which was heard. Yet the only way it could be shared is if we crossed the great ocean between heaven and earth, and then we'd use words to share that which was heard, which could become remembered. This all happens through spiritual energy, which passes like a wave along eternity. And of course, we're going to need words if this will be remembered, and so it could be said that this process is the awakening of Shakti. Yes, it was her, who I knew as Shruti, who led me through a profound process of spiritual movements with the ideas that we pass on so that the Word of God becomes embodied. Oh, what power these words have! But the real power is that which is beyond them. I almost hesitate to say all of this because the real peace lives within silence. Can you hear it? It's here and there, within this exact moment, now and forever. And whatever was revealed here was within us all along. But somehow there needs to be a journey to discover such wisdom of God's song. It's in our hearts and the love that spreads up into our head. Of course it's Shruti, that which is heard, but as we recall it to others, it's what we remember, and so words must be said. Oh, as each thought arises, let us be conscious of what lives behind it. As a witness to truth, the truth exists, whether or not words define it. Go on and perceive the brilliance of 1,000 suns, and we could call God a blue being. But words can only remember that which was heard, and yet I believe that these words can help us once we forget, so that someday we might regain our divine consciousness. Just then, I felt a cosmic egg kick. Something was pulled up at the crown of the head. Without words, it tried to break free. And if I had to remember this, I'd say it was a beaming source of energy that tried to explain how we wake up. But without the ferryman, how can we get back to the earthly side? Oh, we must need a ride or a guide. And so we flew along the shore in search of something, but no one else was here. Then we realized it was only us, the ocean, and the earth in the distance. And finally, we decided this is our choice, our commitment. And since God gave us wings, it's up to us to fly. The ocean between earth and heaven seemed endless, and after only a few flutters, we wondered if we wanted to turn back. But alas, I heard that which is heard, and so it whispered,
"Only you can take your journey back across. No need for any other accommodations. This is your duty, your purpose, and so it is Dharma."
But this choice I am making to depart, it is terrifying, and it seems much easier to remain here. Why do I feel such terror and fear?
Something in you needs to be unleashed. This is not quiet and steady growth, but more like a wild explosion of creative energy and sacred fire. These sparks shall ignite your body, mind, and soul, inspiring you to expand beyond what you believe is possible. Your light will shine far and wide. You cannot control it, but you can trust it,
said the voice. Oh, I knew I needed to go back. But would it be selfish to stay? It felt like such an unknown risk to cross a great sea between heaven and earth. Oh, but this choice must be made. And what happens if I do not have the strength to get across? I have never flown this far, so what happens if I get lost? A boat carried me across the other way, and I don't want our soul to perish if I find myself in the middle of the ocean without enough strength in my veins. And so the voice spoke.
You are going to witness the impossible made possible. Whatever you think is lost is not. Whatever you think cannot be, shall be. The universe is going to intervene, always. Just when you think it's all over, as the 11th hour comes, and you can hear the opening chords of your swan song, right when you have finally given up, suddenly, somehow, right before your eyes, everything will change. When you think you are free falling, and suddenly you find yourself soaring, fate will step in, destinies will be altered, and so I ask, when has God ever not shown up? Even if all seems lost, you matter, no matter how deflated you feel, no matter how many dead ends you encounter. The universe will step in and set things in our favor. Fear nothing. The risk must be taken to discover that which is true. And so I say, death shall not take you.
Where had this wisdom come from? It rose up from within like a spring of pure nectar. I suppose this was a good time as any to try and fly my way all the way back down to the earth. But just as I flew over the shore's waves, very quickly I felt lost. Oh, what felt like a good idea to proceed ahead turned into chaotic stress. How would I ever make it back on my own? And why had I departed from God's throne? I should have never left. The breath began to pant. Wings fluttered between breaths. Individual strength would never last. And if we gave up, no one would ever find us. The heat brought us into a panic, and that golden chain from God started to feel heavy. From the peak of heaven, my soul started to fall, somewhere in between, lost at sea. The shoreline behind us disappeared, as we flew above what felt like an infinite ocean, all in search of the Earth's shore? But what for?
To relieve the suffering of humanity.
Spoke a voice within. Oh, I hear the precious wisdom. But as this body lost strength, I began to sink. These wings flew as far as they could, but now I found myself at the very brink. Giant shadows loomed in the ocean. This type of creature could swallow a bird and trap us in limbo forever. What would happen if we got stuck in between heaven and earth? Would we sink beyond the earth to hell below? They say that life happens when you're busy making plans. But where the hell was the earth land? And no matter how long I flew, I started to question God's plan. Oh, it was so embarrassing. Had I let down the one they called God? Why, just look at me, such a foolish parrot. I'm a phony and a fraud. Oh, of course, I thought I discovered some idea called cosmic love. But was any of it real? But it seemed nothing was real except suffering. This must be what happens when you request an audience with God before you're ready. And so why wouldn't this be my punishment? The more I went on to think, the more my wings started to sink. It was only a matter of time until I'd crash into the cosmic ocean before the awareness would disappear and I'd be forgotten. No one would be left to take care of us. No brave guardian would be left to guide us along. Goodness sakes, that oceanic abyss is filled with extraterrestrial monsters, and surely we'd end up raped by an alien. Detached and lost, I think I began to hallucinate. Overcome by exhaustion, I thought I saw a ship sailing in the distance. Oh, there over the horizon, I think that's a great ship coming over the edge of the sea. It had a giant flag that stated, "Love, serve, remember." And as my eyes honed in, we saw a captain. But was this a dream, or was it reality? Just as I sank deeper, just as there was no more space for another breath, we gave everything to the journey, and as we descended, we noticed it wasn't a mirage, but it was a flying boat. Oh, this was a great cosmic vessel, and it was driven by none other than the man named Clancy. We crashed into the boat, which did not float upon the sea, but rather it too had wings as it levitated to transcend duality. The precious boat hovered through the air with giant wings as it was powered by the secrets of divine alchemy. Just as the boat got close enough, it caught me, and as I collapsed, it saved me from drowning in the great sea of eternity. Why, this whole situation was totally auspicious, and there I read the giant name painted upon the winged boat, the Pegasus. Have you ever seen a parrot pant? Well, it's not a pretty sight. The wheezing goes on until the bird knows it's about to die. Then, as all birds know, our eyes bulge before our heart finally stops. Oh Lord, my poor soul was about to pop. With a gaze up at the heavens, we saw a vision of a blue sky state of mind. Why, this hallucination was an imaginary vision, and surely this was a state of mania that occurs right when a parrot is about to die. Then we felt a woman's hands come together and cradle our tired soul. She held our burning spirit when we realized this wasn't an imaginary vision, but rather we'd been saved by a mystical vehicle called the Pegasus. But why had this boat been out on patrol? The moment I touched the woman, it seemed I set her on fire. "Be not afraid," I whispered. But it was too late. She began to burn, and another profound transformation transpired. Oh, what had I done? Everyone aboard the ship began to back away from the flaming passenger. Yet this woman remained calm, and so the fire burnt away all that was not needed. But to my surprise, Her higher self had already been purified, as this whole process seemed to brighten and illuminate her life. All these beings aboard the boat were similar. They had each been purified in their own way. The fire God had given us could not harm anyone, because all these people aboard the Pegasus embodied the pure love from which their souls displayed. Upon this boat, we were halfway in the world and halfway out of it at the same time. But Clancy and these passengers aboard the Pegasus discovered how to live harmoniously on both sides. And not one of us was alone, for this giant boat housed an entire community of leaders aboard the Pegasus. It seemed as if this entire community could float between Earth to heaven, and the whole group willingly saved others by allowing the Pegasus to hold space for the weak and weary. Now all these beings glowed with God's fire as their human hearts remained in the world. They shined bright as they embraced the poor in spirit without judgment, and when it came to the horrors of suffering, by some miracle, they remained open and curious to serve the world that was deemed as helpless. Oh, these beings aboard the Pegasus were totally selfless. That's when I recognized this crew were the brave souls I had found in the mystical cornfield, but I had no idea they had access to a winged boat that could pass through space-time, and so the mystery of the Pegasus was miraculous. Clancy stood up in the middle of the vessel while he held a wand. With a big smile, his other hand held a baby lamb. "His name is Ram Das," said Clancy. I was dumbfounded in awe of such a divine occurrence. "Welcome aboard the Pegasus," said Clancy. "Oh, Clancy, you saved the day. You're the hero of our story. Without you, we would have never found the way." Clancy wore a captain's hat, and I didn't have to ask because I knew he was an extraordinary alchemist. He didn't so much break the rules, yet he found ways in which rules could be transformed through the spiritual process. "Clancy, do you realize you've pioneered a winged vessel through space-time?" I had a funny feeling we'd need to bail you out sooner or later. But hey, how the hell did you transform into a spiritual parrot? Said Clancy. "Long story, but the real secret is that which is heard, even though memory calls it that which is remembered. I think it's all happening according to a higher plan. And I believe God wanted us to come together aboard the Pegasus. Well, it's not easy to cross the ocean of suffering by yourself, but the worst mistake is to do nothing because you think you can only do a little. And since everything is interrelated, it's important we all make a choice to do something," he said. There were so many great beings aboard this flying boat, and these were the great ones who had put in time and energy to serve others. Again, I looked up and saw the giant flag, which stated their motto, "Love, serve, remember." "How did you know I'd be here, Clancy?" "Once upon a time, there was a great sage who lived in a human body, and back then, they called him Maharaji. He was a real living human who could read minds, but beyond what someone was thinking, he emitted the grace of total love, and that's why some of us found out he was divine. He's the one who led us to find you. Maharaji is the one who told us to love all, serve all, and remember God," said Clancy. Now my eyes scanned the crew, which had all come together from many previous births. We were traveling souls who journeyed across unfamiliar terrain, and thank God for Clancy and the Love, Serve, Remember crew, because otherwise I would have gotten lost in the depths of the ocean of suffering and gone insane. "Oh, Clancy, you're the captain of the boat and the hero of truth. What would I do without you?" Now the woman who picked me up stood at the center of the helm and said, "He's not the captain of our crew. We're all walking each other home." Shocked at this woman, I jumped to a perch. There beside her was a noble man with exquisite white and gray hair, who might have been the captain driving such a search. "But Clancy's got the captain hat." "It's a Halloween costume, dude," said Clancy. More and more souls emerged from this boat. Some were below deck, while others remained above on lookout. The Pegasus held space for all, as it was a refuge for spiritual beings. Now something strange started to click, because as it came to the process of harvesting the nectar of immortality, the blue being had referenced this group in the process, as he called them the Devas. When I'd heard the instructions from the blue being, I had no time to process it, but to my amazement, once I met him, everything began happening. Why, I couldn't explain it, because there was so much occurring, and these happenings expanded my awareness into surreal states of presence which my mind couldn't quite unpack in the moment. We heard the words Clancy said, but some profound energy caught our awareness as this all happened so fast. The blue being said that in order for things to come to fruition, in order to extract the nectar of immortality, we'd have to find the Devas, and then we'd need to churn an ocean where we'd all come into unity, or something like that, I think. Or had that already happened? Now there was that one part that was missing, because there was some part with other divine instructions. The blue being mentioned that the Devas would work in union with the wicked earthlings that were known as the demons. Oh yes, there were demon heads, and they were ruled by that deceiver. And somehow, it happened right before our eyes. But now I began to panic, because I didn't want to forget the entire procedure. Of course it was that which is heard, but do I have the memory to correctly interpret how this should be remembered? Yes, we remember a great cosmic ocean that needs to be churned, and this included all of creation coming together. I couldn't even explain how it would happen, but I do recall that it involves a dragon who controls the weather. I remembered something about how the Devas lost power because it was overtaken by the wicked demons, and somehow we'd have to come together and churn an ocean, which I believe holds various treasures. I remember the blue being said that we'd have to use an ancient serpent as a rope, but he also mentioned the possibility that obstacles could arise. He said that Earth could sink, and we'd need to look out for a poison that could cause all of creation to die. Oh my! And now that I'd found the Devas, I knew the whole process the blue being spoke of was coming to life. And I can't tell you why, but something within felt like it began to break when tears welled up under my eyes. Water poured out from within when a giant release began to cry. "What is it?" someone asked. "I don't know. I just feel that we've all suffered so much." "And who is it that's suffering?" asked the wise elder with white hair. It was an unusual question, but I'm not sure what he was getting at. The giant release of energy poured over the edge of the Pegasus into the ocean of suffering where the waves crashed. "I don't know," I told the wise man. "When I suffer, the suffering belongs to me. But when I release my suffering, then what I am is free. The suffering then is ultimately each of our responsibility. And yet, the same suffering you feel is the same suffering that exists throughout all hearts, in all beings, across all of humanity. Do not feel alone, for we are all connected in more ways than we could ever know. And such suffering can lead us to become wise. Did you know that suffering can help us grow. Why, look at any lotus. It is planted deep in the cold dirt. I'm sure such a seed may feel abandoned or alone, but through the journey to the light, we find great purpose for a rebirth. It is up to us to interpret the causation for our suffering, but do not let your soul slip into dismay. Love is who we are, and in time, we realize that suffering is only trying to reveal the way. We have the power to make a choice, and each choice can either lead us or push us further away. We who have found this place have all suffered greatly, but because we have endured so much, now we can lead others upon the pure way. And although our suffering belongs to us alone, we remember that we are in this together. There is a path to move beyond suffering, and so it is through the grace of love by which the Pegasus is empowered. There is an ocean of suffering beneath us at all times, but only love bridges our suffering back to grace. We have all come a long way to find this place, and here together we find ourselves at the helm of fate, he said. The community aboard this ship had a presence beyond the material world, and at the same time, they existed both above, below, and upon the earth. These were not only spiritual leaders, but they were cosmic teachers. And up here, their souls revealed their pure spiritual auras. Words would try to explain this occurrence, but it was their presence which was heard. It seemed in the silence that a sacred transmission occurred. Yes, something very odd connected us to the Pegasus, because when I looked down over the side of the boat, we floated over the river of life after death. There at the front of the boat, I noticed we were pulled by a giant golden chain, just like the one that was attached to myself. Hey, I recognize that link. Is this boat connected into the blue being? It's not just connected to the boat. It's connected into all of us, said another wise soul. Beside me was an author of love, then a man who specialized in a living dying project. Why, each person here had their own connection back into the source of eternity, and each soul had their own perfected link, which connected us to a plane far beyond the earth or even this Pegasus. Aboard this flying boat, it seemed our souls were rather young. Why, all these beings had traveled a similar path, yet they seemed to find their divine teacher long before my life had even begun. But how had this happened? And look at how these links are woven back into the nature of eternity. Some of these chain links were made of precious stones, fine diamonds, gold, silver, ruby, or jasper. This symbolized all the various traditions one might label as different types of religions. Why, these links could be called Buddhist, Islamic, Jewish, Hindu, Jain, Sikh, or all the types of Christianity. Yes, it is our faith and experiences which form our own personal connection back to God. But God was not formed from our individual beliefs. Rather, God has called us, and we have a choice to make the brave journey across the great cosmic sea. Why, we wanted to open up to whomever would listen, and their eyes would respond back without words. A great mystery directed the course of the Pegasus, and so God propelled our boat, but all of us had to take action and row the oars. So maybe no one could make sense of what occurred. As we found our way around the ship, we seemed to recognize more and more souls here. These were the peaceful ones who meditated in the mystical cornfield as they were wise to prepare their lives to go beyond the final frontier. They had become the earth's great teachers, and how did I get so lucky to be on board with them? The earth had covered our bodies, but now I realized It is our souls that reach into different realms. How did we all get a connection back to the divine? Once you get a divine link, it sticks with you all your life, said Clancy. How do you know all this? Look around. We all have divine connections here. Each soul that comes aboard asks the same question, and so I just repeat what my teachers told me before their bodies disappeared, said Clancy. What do you mean, disappeared? I remember when I was the youngest soul aboard the Pegasus. I was just like you, but in time, we are called to many places, both within and beyond the earth, where we do work as we fulfill the duties we are called to do. I met many great teachers upon this boat, and in time, it seems that we step into their shoes. It's like a rite of passage, and each of us are like a single link in a great chain that's connected back into the home of truth, said Clancy. Now he reached in his chest pocket and revealed a unique set of glasses. These had golden frames with yellowish lenses. He motioned for me to try them on, but I didn't know what to think of them. Well, of course, I had to give them a try, and so the moment these magical glasses came over my eyes, I saw far into the future, where each person's divine link reached. From what I could see, there could have been 5 great divine families. And so Clancy spoke. The one you call the blue being will never let go of you, even if you do, he said. And who built this boat? Now we're getting somewhere, and I suppose you could say we've all contributed our part, but without one man, our Pegasus would have never taken flight, and so we owe it all to the miracle of love, said Clancy. This Pegasus was a feat of engineering, but it was also rickety in its own way. You could tell it was one of a kind, yet I might also say that it was homemade. Can I ask a silly question? Who is the blue being? Some see the blue being as a woman. Others have met him as a man. Some have found the blue being in Christ, while others see that the blue being is a spirit with an animal head, said Clancy. And this divine link, what is it all about? The link home. It's a divine connection to the heart of our universal soul. And once you make a connection with the divine never lets go. Even if you wanted to break the link, or let's say you get lost in the ways of the wicked world, it doesn't matter what you do, the blue being will always love you. Now it takes quite a bit of effort to establish a divine link, but once you do, the divine spirit will guide you. Now one word of caution, whatever you do, don't pull the divine link with ego, said Clancy. What do you mean, ego? Have you heard of the Asuras? That's what some know as the demon heads. Remember that deceiver? Well, about 10,000 years ago, he got a divine link, but he started to pull back at God, and so he chased money and power instead. Once someone gets a link home, that link provides a person a source of divine power. It could be the power of service, the power of love, or even power within the world to be a vehicle with the flow of nature. Once our soul surrenders, we find that the link guides our spirit. But if our ego is not tamed, then the ego wants the power to rule the world, which proves to be selfish and ignorant, said Clancy. Yes, I remembered hearing about the Asuras. This was part of the process to churn out the nectar of immortality. The Devas were like angels, while the Asuras were demons who wanted to live forever, even if they had forsaken the rest of humanity. But according to the blue being, from what I'd heard, he said the Devas and Asuras had to work together to churn out the nectar of immortality. Bewildered by the thought of those demons, Clancy reached into his pocket and handed me a totally different pair of glasses. I switched the golden rims with the yellow lenses to an old pair from the 1960s that were covered in scratches. These were his, said Clancy. Whose? The first captain aboard the Pegasus. And although his body recently left us, we can all still feel his loving awareness. We ride upon his legacy, and it's due to choices he made when he came here to live. We're all like links in a big chain, and here we are in a lineage of no lineage. Each of us carry a divine link from our great teachers who came before us because of the grace they shared with others, said Clancy. What happened to the man, the first captain of this boat? And how did he discover the power to make it float? Be here now. That's what he would say. And it's all because of our teacher's courage that we are able to have found this way. You know, they won't tell you everything about how the path works with words, but rather they teach you in silence so that you can learn to witness and observe. The original captain offered himself to us in service. That is how he discovered the truth behind loving awareness. None of us would be here if it wasn't for him, and that's why we call this boat the Pegasus. It was his final gift for us, said Clancy. And these glasses were his? As I held the old spectacles up to my eyes, I saw a glimpse of energy beyond this world. As I set them upon my face, I saw the miraculous nature of our united soul. Gone was the body, and gone was each person's mind. But from the lens of the original captain, I could see what the blue being was all about, and I saw how the path was pure and divine. There beneath our vessel was not an ocean of suffering, but rather it was an ocean of love. I saw that one creates one's own pain and pleasure. Oh, we must be vigilant about our own actions. In shock of what I found, I dropped to my knees and began to cry. I saw the true nature of divinity within each person, and the energy of each spirit looked out from everyone's eyes. Wherever this group journeyed into the world, their invisible vibration would spread. This allowed so many others to take hold of a link back home, which could guide each soul after our body was dead. I could see how each link stretched from soul to soul, back into each family tree. Yes, it seemed to take a brave soul from each family to discover that our divine link was connected home throughout infinity. As I gazed upon the community, I saw that these teachings were tied into many students' hearts. We were all connected through divine links, and it led us home back to creation's source. All these beings aboard the Pegasus held a pure vibration. This was a power that transcended the material world. The energy of love was formless, shapeless, beyond gender, sexuality. We had discovered a link that transcended human suffering. The link stretches to many, and yet the mystery is difficult to understand. These glasses may help you see it for a moment, and so we must do our best to not forget this vision. Even without the glasses, you have still felt the experience of true wisdom, for this divine link provides the grace that allows us to move beyond material suffering, he said. Aboard the flying boat, I discovered how everyone here was connected to that vibration of grace. We felt that this divine source was our connection to spiritual wealth. It didn't matter anyone's religion, but rather the vibration from our heart would magnify depending on our service to others. The great power comes from action, and the divine link is a symbol of our loving awareness. There I noticed a very wise meditator, and so he was given the power to distribute links to others on the path because he had tamed the unruly mind. Across from him, we saw another person's power, which came through heartfelt chanting, for he was also one of the ripest souls here in service of the divine being. Beside the chanting man was an Indian American woman, and beside her was a rhythmic drummer. They too emitted the divine vibrations as they were linked home into the soul's unique spiritual power. Men and women had ripened on all sides of us, and of course, I was the new kid on the boat. Together, we had all formed a link that allowed us to help others get back home. Seated in awe of the unlimited love, I knew that this power had emerged through everyone's heart. As I looked across the sea, there was the world we were heading towards, and now the earth was not so far. Just remember, the ego wants divine power, but a servant of God needs nothing for himself or herself. That's what the original captain of the Pegasus taught us, and we are linked back into him through loving awareness. When we reach the world, it will feel like we're in a great battle with the demons that some call the Asuras. But whatever you do, don't push anyone out of your heart, said Clancy. I took the glasses off, for I had seen so much. How far does a divine link stretch throughout all of us? It has infinite length, and it can reach into anyone and everyone that we've ever come across, said Clancy. There was such a great mystery in this, because each person's vibration had been cultivated through action and spiritual practices, and if the power of the divine link was not used in service of others, well, I knew it could do immense damage. But what were we to do? How could we make sense of this? In the words of our first captain, all I can do for you is to work on myself, and all you can do for me is work on yourself, said the woman who first held me aboard the Pegasus. We were aware of how a divine link runs through us, and each link is a connection to the source of creation. We had seen the link spread through the mystical cornfields where Clancy, Stitches, and so many others were upon the path as we climbed out of suffering. Then I reflected about the people who may not have had a link yet, and we wondered about the nectar of immortality and the blue being's intricate message and procedure. And how the heck are we supposed to work with demons? How the hell can anyone even reason with that deceiver?